This is Marriage on the Half Shell, Raw and Exposed. Well, we're back.
Hey!
I know it's been a while. I don't remember when was the last one that we recorded.
Oh my gosh. October?
It was last fall.
November?
It was in the
I don't
fall.
know. We can look, but we're too lazy.
Well, right now we're too lazy, yes. So I hope everybody had great time with their family over the holidays, Christmas and Hanukkah or whatever it is you celebrate, New Year's, all that stuff. We did. We had a great Christmas with family and spent some time with friends and just didn't really make any New Year's resolutions per se. Just kind of fell off the wagon a little bit as far as eating and that kind of thing over the holidays. Yeah, and we kind of planned for it, and then, as soon as the holidays are over, we're right back to
Mostly.
being, mostly disciplined.
Except the holiday party yesterday. My gosh.
That's okay. That's okay.
All right.
Gotta have fun too.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Well, so we had promised a couple episodes about being high quality men and women, and so that's what we're going to do. This one is the high quality man episode. So I'll say this. So we've been trying to condense this down because there's a lot. So I think we could almost do a bunch of episodes about each of these things, some of these things anyway, in depth. But right now we're just going to do the overview and go from there. Kind of like a high-level guide to being a high-quality person.
Mm-hmm.
So today's is going to be, I'd say some of it anyway will apply to both men and women, but I'm really going to present it as, and you're going to chime in, but
Right.
present it as for men, but some of this stuff, applies to both. But that's okay. I'm to present this in a way that allows you to pick a starting point and look into things you might need to change or might want to change or improve, no matter where you are in the journey. Okay. We'll add links to resources, and of course you can search out stuff for yourself. There are plenty of YouTube videos out there and other resources that are pretty decent. So we'll link in the show notes what we found helpful, and then of course you can, like I said, you can search on your own stuff. Okay, we ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. So this is being a high quality man. So I'm really starting, from the very bottom, in a sense, a foundational thing. So wherever you are in life, whether you're single or married, younger or older, you can start anywhere and even take these foundational things and improve in those areas. I think life is really, the improvement in life is really a journey throughout your life, because you never get perfect, but you can continue to improve even in the foundational things. All right, so let's start with these foundational things, okay? The first has to do with mindset, and I want to mention this book. Carol Dweck published a book called Mindset: The New Psychology of Success. I've read it, and it's not just one of those books that say, do these 5 things or 7 habits or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. It has to do with how you think about improvement and success and accomplishments. All right. If you need convincing that you can do this journey, right, getting better in various areas of life, read the book. I wish that all teachers would read it to benefit their students, because it really has a lot of her examples have to do with how teachers relate to students and giving the students a mindset, the correct mindset. So she breaks it down this way. You can have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. And if you find yourself thinking that you can't do something because you fail or might fail, then you're probably in a fixed mindset, okay? Where with a growth mindset, you know that failures are part of the process of improvement. So since she talks about teachers and students as examples, I'm going to give you an example in terms of a teacher and a student. So if you tell a student who gets good grades that they're smart, okay, then you're saying that they need no improvement. Hey, you're so smart. You got an A on that test. You're really smart. It's like, so they're thinking the message is there's no improvement. So when more difficult challenges come along, that student will eventually fail because they don't know everything, just like the rest of us, and they'll think that as far as they can go, right? I'm smart, but I failed at this, or I shouldn't fail at this, or whatever, and they don't have it in their head that it took work to get there. Okay, I was like that. Things came pretty easy, and I'm not saying I had a fixed mindset, but there were some things that came pretty easy, and then things started to get more challenging, and I had to switch over to this idea that it's going to take some work. So let me get back where I am. You're just jump in whenever you want.
I don't want to interrupt you.
Do it.
This is actually something that Dr. Peterson talked about. There's this. A lot of psychiatrists will say this, or even parents. You're perfect just the way you are.
Yeah.
And he's talked about how that is probably the worst thing that you can say to someone who is struggling with their self-image or with their, where they are in life, or say you've got a teenager, and they're having some issues or whatever.
Right.
That's a really awful thing, actually, to say to someone, because that is the fixed mindset.
Yeah,
you're putting them in that fixed mindset. There's nowhere for you to go.
Right.
Right. So there's no point in trying.
Well, yes. If you fail at this, then you're perfect.
Yeah.
The way you are.
Yeah.
You can't get any better. You failed at that. Give up.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, that's more or less.
I think that's the result.
But it's also it also tells this person that there's nowhere to aim upward or aim for self-improvement, because
Right.
they don't need to. I don't need to self-improve. I'm
Yeah.
perfect the way I am.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That's not something. I never said that to any of our kids.
No, that's true. I think I know. I mean, the sentiment. I think what parents are trying to do, or whoever is, they're trying to do is they're really trying to convey that their kids have inherent value
Sure.
as people,
Sure.
right? And you love them. Obviously, you love your kids, and they
Right.
have inherent value. So,
Right.
I think that sentiment is good. Kids need to know that our love doesn't depend on your grades, for instance.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And we're talking about kids here, or
yeah.
students.
Right.
The teacher's not going to say "I love you," but the teacher's going to say, your value doesn't depend on whether you pass or fail at this moment, because you
Right.
can, the message needs to be that improvement is possible.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Always.
Okay.
Always. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I mean that's I never, and I've mentioned this before in past podcasts, but something else I never said to the kids was, "You can do anything."
Okay.
That's a bad thing to. Well, it's a bad thing to say to your kids, but it's something you shouldn't be saying anyway. because you can't.
Yeah,
I can't.
We all have limitations.
I can't sing.
Me too.
So, and we used to watch American Idol with one of our kids. I hated it. I hated that show. But the initial episodes were always like these, the people, they just bring in everybody and have them sing.
Horrible singers.
And there was one episode that stands out in particular because this poor girl came in and she had a tape made of her music. This is my music and it's perfect. And I have a beautiful voice. And she sang and she sounded like a gutter rat. I mean, it was just, it was terrible. And that's when, back when Simon was one of the hosts, he was like, no, no, you suck. He just kind of, she strutted out of there and was like, well, my mom said I'm perfect, so I'm just going to go try somewhere else. And I was going,
wow.
Okay. Yeah, wow.
It's like we all may not be able to sing really well, but we can recognize when something is good or bad.
Yeah.
If we think about it anyway.
Yeah. So what I told our kids was, you are talented at something. Yes. Because God gives everybody gifts, and you are gifted at something. And actually, that turned out to be the case. Actually, with any kid, but obviously with all of ours.
Yeah, with all of them, they all had something.
They were all very gifted at something.
Right.
I said, so we're going to find what that is and work on it.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, just a side note.
Okay. No, I mean, it's good. So, getting back to the student analogy. So, if you don't want yourself or the student to think this is as far as I can go, suppose you had this other mindset, this growth mindset.
Yeah.
If you say you worked hard to get that grade.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to you're so smart. So you worked hard to get that grade. When some challenge comes, even if they fail at the first attempt, they know maybe they could probably master it, right? I mean,
yeah.
Study some more, work hard. I mean, I've heard so many stories of successful people, and they look back and they say, I failed it so many times, or, I went into it thinking I had it and had it made, and then I failed, right? Got a terrible grade on the test or whatever it was. And then they decided that, they could master it. So they worked hard at mastering it. And some people, will be able to get stuff in class and absorb it, and they've got it, right? Because maybe that's their talent, but eventually they'll come up against something as well. But so you got the student who doesn't absorb it so quickly or whatever, and they put in the effort, because everything takes effort. Eventually, if you really want to be good at something, it's going to take some effort eventually. You're going to hit up against this limitation, because we're not born with inherent knowledge. We're not,
right.
We're born, like you said, God gives everyone certain gifts, but we need to figure out what those are. So you have this student that says, I failed, but I know I can master it. So they work on it, and then they come back and they get a better grade. I remember a teacher, it was in high school, and this teacher said, you're not going to advance until you get at least a B. It wasn't even C. They say C's get degrees, right?
Yeah.
You can get your degree with C's, but is that really the best thing? And she said, you got to get a B on the test for each section, or you can't advance. But she would let me take the test, and if I didn't get a B, it was like, this isn't the most terrible thing. It tells me that you need to study a bit more. So I'd go back and study, and I'd come back and do it'd be a different test, but it'd be on the same subject, the same stuff. And then I would say get a B that time, and then move on. So I never thought, failing a test or getting below a B was the end of the world. It was like, okay, I need to go back and work on some stuff, and then I'll go and tests tell you where you need to work on too. All right, so I hear you. She's making this get to move on.
No, I'm just saying, let's correlate it to,
Well, so the point is, if you have this growth mindset, you want to develop it, right? And we're spending all this time on this because it's a foundational thing. If you get the foundation right, a lot of the other stuff comes much easier, right? So develop this growth mindset as you work through where you are, and be honest with yourself about where you are and what you can start doing to become this man or woman of higher quality. Okay. All right. So that book is recommended. Again, anything we recommend, by the way, if we point you to podcasts or books or whatever, we're not affiliated with anybody, right?
No, we have no sponsorships.
We're just here, right? We want people to do better and to be able to do better, and we need resources.
Yes.
We all need resources. All right. The second part of the foundation is of being able to, and I've mentioned this, to honestly evaluate yourself, okay, based on where you are. And a lot of these evaluations will be in areas that we're going to cover. So think of it that way. So we're talking about being humble. Growth comes with humility and being honest with yourself. Okay. And then the third part is, third foundational thing is learn to do hard things, face what you fear. And we've talked about that before, developing resilience, facing what you fear. This is Jordan Peterson's thing.
Yes.
Right. Again, we're not.
And we can talk about my experience with that just a few months ago.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm not going to go into what the childhood trauma was, but I had a very traumatic experience as a very young child with heights, and it was some stairs. And it's an ugly story. I won't go into it because it's just going to make me bawl, and I don't want to do that. But
I will hold you if you want to.
No,
tell the story.
I don't want to tell the story.
All right.
Anyway, so this was something that, and this is how your mind works sometimes when you have childhood trauma. You remember pieces of it.
Yeah.
And then, but it never kind of all comes together. And we were having an at-home date. This was it was last fall because we went to Charlotte.
That's about right.
We went to Charlotte right after. And the entire thing came together, all the pieces, and I spilled it all to you. And it was reliving it was so traumatic. I think I had to deal with it for like a month.
Yeah.
It was a month.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, once I articulated it, I had always been afraid of stairs, and I never knew why. Terrified of stairs. Like I'd say,
and heights.
Yes. Yeah. Well, stairs and heights, yes, but I would get to the top of a flight of stairs at somebody's house, or, my daughter has like very steep, narrow stairs. Scared. No, don't ask me to hold the baby and go down the stairs, because I'm just shaking. And I just figured that was something everybody dealt with, and it, but once I articulated it, that resolved immediately. Like I'm not afraid of stairs anymore. I don't like going downstairs because it hurts my knees, but I'm not afraid of it anymore.
You don't feel the same.
I don't feel the same fear of falling down the stairs every time. Okay. Right. But the other part of that was heights. And that's when you said, okay, well, when we go on our overnighter to Charlotte, we're going to find some ropes courses. Now I'm quaking. That's not my idea of a good time. It's not.
I thought it was an awesome time. I mean, whew,
you like that. You jumped out of a plane. I wouldn't do that either. But I only really got through like 3 beginners courses. And the first one was pretty scary. And the second one, I did flip out.
Yeah.
Like she said, once you reach this point, you can't turn around. You have to complete it.
Yeah.
I was past that point.
Oh yeah, we were past the point.
And you're going ahead of me, and I hear you the whole time going, you can do this. You're going to be fine. You're hooked to the thing. You're not going to fall.
Right.
Irrational. I was just completely irrationally afraid. And I did flip out at one point, but I took some breaths. Yeah. And I got it under control, and
I'm proud of you.
I made it across, right?
Yeah.
So I want to go do it again. Not necessarily because I enjoyed it, but because I know I need to.
I enjoyed it.
I know you did.
We talked about this, I think, in a previous episode.
Maybe.
But the ropes course, and you were like having this mini panic attack.
Yeah, I did.
But you got it under control.
Yeah.
And you came on with me, and we finished the course, and that was great. And then we did 2 or 3 more.
Yeah.
You still wouldn't go across the zip line with me, but
no, I was not going to do that. That's insane.
And it's not insane.
Okay.
Jumping out of the plane maybe is insane, but I'd do that again too.
I know you would.
But and I'd like to try. What is it? Hang gliding.
Oh,
that'd be awesome too.
Well, but the point is, I didn't get over my fear. What happened was I became less scared every time I tried another one. It got a little less scary.
Right. Because as you face the thing that you fear, you expose yourself to it, and you do that, and you realize, oh, nothing bad happened.
Yeah.
And the next time, nothing bad happened, and you go farther in.
Yeah.
And nothing bad happened. And even if something does, I mean, okay, you got to recover, right? But
yeah,
you can go back and do it again and keep going at it.
Right.
Okay.
So.
Whoa, I think we're way off.
Yeah. Well, do hard things is that was the whole you were.
Yeah.
I was trying to correlate it to that.
Yeah. This isn't in my notes. Here's my notes. I don't think I say this in my notes, but it's like find yourself a group of guys who do get together and do stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Just guys. Men's spaces have been invaded, have been destroyed, and I think we need to recover that. And it doesn't mean that women are excluded from everything. That's not what that's saying, but women need their spaces. And men need their spaces, and then we can all come together,
right,
and be civilized, right? Yeah. Anyway, oh my goodness, I could go off on stories of men's spaces and fun times. I mean, they're fun, but you put yourself not in a little danger, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like whitewater rafting with a bunch of guys is probably different than if it was a mix of men and women.
Yeah.
And I think it was a bit more dangerous when we did it. Nobody died, so that was a good thing. A good day. Nobody died, right? All right. So we've babbled on, but this is a set of foundational things. Your mindset, doing hard things, and such like that. All right. So we're kind of, I wanted to kind of approach this in in some categories. So the first one category, or I'm not even calling that a category, was the foundation. So the first category is yourself, and we're working from the inside out. Mm-hmm. Okay. The first part of yourself is your health, and that includes both your mental and physical health. Okay. And tackling this area will first will set you up for success and things that we'll talk about later. right? Some of those other, how can I say, the things that are more external. So we want to deal with the internal first. Okay, so physical. And also note that mental health improves with physical health. Okay, but then there's some specific things related to mental health that we're going to talk about. All right. All right. And everybody has to say this. So we're going to say it. We're not doctors and we're not giving you medical advice, blah, blah, blah. And you should work with your own doctor. Okay. But let's go on to talk about physical health. All right. So the first thing is working out, and you could probably you knew that was coming, right? If you don't work out, if you don't do something, then you should start.
Yeah.
Right? And start small if necessary, right? If you can't walk to the mailbox and I can visualize who I'm talking to, right? If you can't walk to the mailbox, then walk halfway to the mailbox and do it multiple times per day.
Yeah.
Right? Work your way up. And I would say work your way up to 3 miles. And we'll point you to Couch to 5K.
Right.
Right? And doing a 5K, which is basically 3.2 miles,
Yes.
I think. 3.1, 3.2 miles. And even running that may sound really daunting. Okay? But you started
Yes.
Years ago. You started with Couch to 5K.
And I had treadmill.
Talk about that experience.
Oh, well, I don't even know how I stumbled on it. We were living in a rented house in kind of an isolated area, so didn't really have access to
a
it.
Neighborhood.
Yeah,
right?
well, sort of, but we didn't really have access to a decent gym of any kind, not really.
The Y, but
the Y was so far away. It was all the way in Frederick, and we were too far. We were.
you're talking about okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about Woodbine.
So we're way yes.
So
we were definitely isolated.
So yeah, I mean, we had a 1/4 mile driveway that was on a hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I wanted to go for a walk, it was, it's kind of daunting. So I found, I don't know how I found it, but Couch to 5K, and you've probably heard of it. It's, it's pretty,
Maybe.
It's out there, it's been out there for years. And you basically start interval training, and you can do it on a treadmill, because that's how I did it. I had a chart on the wall, and you run for this many seconds, then you walk for this many seconds, and you eventually get to a point where you're just running and you don't have to walk.
Yeah.
Right. And okay.
So you could start. I mean, you don't even have to start with running.
No, you don't.
Could, like I said,
walk faster.
Just walk.
Yeah.
Walk.
Yeah.
And walk as far as you can. Well, walk halfway from your house.
Yeah.
As far as you can, and then walk the rest back so you can make it back, obviously, to your house. But do that until you can walk farther, and you will begin to walk farther, and then you'll be able to go farther, and then farther and farther. So, it's I don't know how else I can say it. It's like it is possible for everyone, unless you don't have legs, to walk.
Yeah.
Right. And then run eventually.
Right.
So go ahead.
So, well, I went from that to, we moved from that isolated area to a more of a neighborhood kind of a thing and a nice little town. And I reached a point where I was running 5 to 8 miles a day.
Yes. I remember you ran 9 miles one time.
Yeah. No, I ran
in our neighborhood.
10 or 11 once.
Okay.
Once.
So you were able to get up there.
But I was until my knees gave out, and then I couldn't do it anymore. But then I just went, then we found a Y where we were, and it was really close, and it was cheap. The whole family could go.
Yep.
Whole family was taking, karate and gymnastics and all kinds of, so, and they had spin classes and kettlebell classes. Well, spin didn't hurt my knees.
Right.
So I'm taking spin, or I'm getting on, say, a treadmill or an elliptical there, something. I was doing something. And I was there every day.
Yeah, we would go every day.
We would go every day.
I would get up and go.
Yeah.
early in the morning before work and then go on to work. So, yeah. All right. So all of that.
Okay, and also keep in mind, when we say workout, we're not talking about hours in the gym. We're really not.
No,
like,
not.
I do that, but that's because part of it is my part-time job to be at the gym. But
well, your workout is an hour, and
yes,
it's warm up, and then
hang
around and yap for a while.
No, we don't do that.
Yes, you do.
No,
Come
not
on.
really. No. No.
And then you do the workout.
Well, the workout, yeah, and our workouts, I mean, I'm CrossFit, so workouts can be anywhere from, say, 8 minutes all the way up to, say, 20 minutes. And then 2 or 3 times a year we do something that's closer to an hour.
Yeah.
You know, but that's so rare. But all I'm saying is, and then the rest of my exercise right now, because I'm still struggling with knees, is I walk.
Yeah.
I do walk.
We
I do
walk
walk
together.
I can't run anymore because of my knees, but I got myself a cheap little pedometer, and I'm getting 10,000 steps a day.
All right. Yeah.
On average, for the most part, I'm getting 10,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
So,
okay, so
small
let's say
goals.
it this way:
Small goals.
If you are young, and then you're probably not haven't developed any kind of joint problems yet. You can do this.
Yeah.
You can work your way up.
Yeah.
If you're really old, it doesn't matter. You can walk.
There's a guy who lives on the next street over.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah. Well, we still see him.
He started with a cane.
Cane. Yes, he did.
Because maybe he was doing some kind of physical therapy.
That's what it looked like.
Asked him.
Yeah.
But now he carries the cane, but he doesn't use it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. And this is over the course of a couple of months that we've watched him
it was a few
progress.
months, right.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, oh my gosh, physical activity. We spent too much time.
I don't think so. It's just that's just such a,
there's so many benefits.
It is foundational, and also it is so connected to mental health.
Yes.
So it is
mental and
something
health.
to emphasize, actually.
Okay. All right. So, one way or the other, whatever it takes, right? This is one of those things.
Move. Get
whatever
up
it takes.
and move.
Move. Join a gym. Get some weights.
Well, move
do
outside.
something.
Move outside as much as you can. Yeah.
As much as you can outside too.
Yeah.
But do something to increase your stamina and build some muscle.
Yes.
You don't need to be a bodybuilder.
No.
You just want to be in shape, right? And I'll just point out, if you've heard about the fat acceptance movement, I don't know where it's coming from or why, but being overweight or having a high body fat percentage isn't good for you. It's going to destroy your health, and you will die young. And that is just the way it is. It's the way it's been forever. So, I don't know what else. I don't want to get too far into that. But you just want to be able to do stuff, physical things. So start it, right? If you haven't started it, then start it today and do it every day. And it's not about losing weight.
Really, it's not.
It's not about losing weight. You will lose weight.
Yeah.
If you need to.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not about being muscly, right? Super bodybuilder type thing. It's not about that. It's about how long do you want to live and how well do you want to live?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's so many things out there about your physical health connected to your mental health. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into a little bit more of that in a second, but I don't know how else to say it, right? Okay, but we'll go on. Oh my gosh! All right. The next thing is how you eat, and I don't mean get on a diet. I'm not saying that, right? This is about how you eat, the way you eat. And we know that there's not one way of eating.
Right.
There's plenty of diets out there, if you want to call it that. There's not one way of eating that is quote unquote best. You do need to find what works for you, but in general, eat whole foods.
One ingredient foods.
One ingredient
as much as you
foods,
can. As
right.
much as you can.
And avoid, as much as you can, avoid processed foods. That doesn't mean, have the treat now and then, but if you really, I might say this again later, but I'll say it now, right? Don't cheat yourself, okay? When people talk about exercising, or they talk about the way they eat, a lifestyle way of eating, right? You can say, okay, I'm allowed to have this cheat meal, or, a rest day, or whatever. But then eventually that becomes most of what you do.
Yeah.
And you aren't exercising all of a sudden, right? You didn't develop this habit of exercising consistently, or eating a certain way consistently. And then you give up, and you don't realize that you give up. And what you're doing is you're cheating yourself out of a better future.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't want to, oh my gosh. Okay. So, look at my notes so I can stay on track here. All right. So eat whole foods, avoid processed foods. Anything that comes in a box
It's probably bad for
is
you.
bad for you. It's a processed food.
Shop the perimeter of the store as much as possible. If you think about that, yeah.
Okay. So carbs are not bad. They're not the enemy, but you should limit them, okay? Limit them as much as possible to whole food plants, okay? And so on. My notes say reduce or eliminate. I would say eliminate sugar. Eliminate sugar for, 3 months, so that
You can break the addiction.
you can break this cycle of addiction. There have been, I'm just kind of throwing this out there, but there have been people that I've read say it's harder to break a sugar habit than it is to break a cocaine habit. And that may depend on the person, but sugar is in everything related to processed foods and all that stuff. I went to a class. So my journey here, doctors track your fasting blood glucose, right? Once a year, you get that taken. And if it's over 100, they look at you funny. But lately they've been looking at this measurement called the A1C or HA1C or whatever, hemoglobin A1C. It has to do with a measurement of how much sugar has destroyed the oxygen carrying points in your red blood cells, right? And once it goes over a certain percentage, you become what they call pre-diabetic, and then once you go I can't remember the numbers, but if it goes even higher, then you end up in this diabetic, and we're talking about type 2 diabetes. That may come in my notes later, but anyway, so my journey was, and this takes years, and there's a point to me saying this. I would say it took 10 to 15 years, right, of me not caring what I ate, eating what I wanted. And I loved desserts and sweets and stuff like that. And not that you didn't feed us good meals that were healthy, but I would, off to the side, eat what I wanted and all that.
Yeah.
So each year, the doctor would, first it started with the doctor says, oh, your fasting blood glucose is over 100, which is not good, but we look at A1C now, and that's still in the good range, so that's okay, right? But I think over the course of 15 years, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
It just kept creeping up, and finally, this doctor that I was going to said, hey, your you're in this pre-diabetic range, you're way up at the top of it.
Right.
Go to this nutrition class. It's one day, like a half a day. You know, can you do that? And he didn't say anything else. He didn't say, hey, you the way you eat sucks, or you know, whatever, or you're. And I wasn't really overweight. I wasn't fat.
Let me just interject here.
Go for it.
If you saw Jay, you would never ever guess that he was in any kind of, like, when you think of a diabetic person, you think of somebody that's obese. You do. You really do.
You do think that.
Yes. If someone met, like I was talking to a buddy of mine at the gym, and he has some of the same issues you do, and I told him that you would struggle with the same thing, and he raised an eyebrow, and I was like, yeah, I know. You'd look at him, you never think that Jay would be struggling with anything correlated to diabetes. You don't look like that.
Type 2 diabetes, right?
So this is, it really doesn't have anything to do with your weight. It has more to do with how you eat and how you treat yourself.
Right. And whether your body is able to handle glucose in the bloodstream. So the doctor sent me to this class, and I went. I said, hey, great. Went to this class for half a day, and maybe even less. And the nutritionist, the one thing that I remember from the class, there was a lot of, here, you should eat these things and drink water instead of soda.
Right.
And, and all that
common
stuff.
sense stuff.
And they passed around the one, if you have to take away one thing from this class, it was a 2-liter soda bottle, like Coke or Pepsi or Sprite or any one of them, right? They're all the same, different flavors, but underneath it's all the same. And it was a 2-liter bottle, and they had the sugar in that bottle that was equivalent to what the company puts in that bottle, in a 2-liter bottle of soda. And it filled a third of the bottle, right? Take that bottle and imagine for yourself that this is the amount of sugar that's in this bottle of soda, right? And it doesn't matter what kind of soda it is. It's basically all the same. And I tell you, when I was young, especially, but, I could put down a whole 2-liter bottle.
Oh, me too.
Of soda over the course of an evening, right? I'm not saying I would drink it like Elf, just drinking the whole thing down. But over the course of an evening, I could drink, whether it was cans of soda or whatever, I could put that down. It's like, oh my gosh, like, look at that amount of sugar.
Yeah.
So imagine that. Anyway, where was I going with that?
You were talking about your class and the blood sugar and
yeah. So having all that sugar, what it does is over time, and also let me say this: the sugar intake and any processed carbs. And I hate to say this, but bread, and I love bread, but bread, anything bread, donuts, anything processed.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, things like potatoes and even carrots, and lots of things have either sugar in them or carbohydrates that have been broken down so they're not complex anymore.
Right.
And when you eat them, they get turned, all of that stuff gets turned into glucose. And even protein, if you eat more protein than your body needs to repair itself, right? That gets turned into glucose. Okay? So, that's another reason you should work out more, because you want to utilize the protein to build muscle rather than just get turned into glucose. But anyway, all this glucose gets into your body, and it drives up your blood glucose. And what happens? Your pancreas has to produce insulin, and after a while, the cells in your body, there's so much insulin to deal with the high glucose that you have, that your cells get resistant to it, right? They don't want to hear it anymore, right? Accept more glucose, and they don't want to hear it. And insulin, by the way, insulin is also a fat storage hormone. Okay, and I don't want to get too medical, but this is kind of important for a lot of people. Anyway, so this is how we develop type 2 diabetes. Okay, type 1 is when your pancreas doesn't produce insulin, so you have to take insulin.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a genetic thing, right? Totally different. Type 2 is where you make your body develop diabetes because your cells don't want to deal with the insulin anymore.
Right.
Okay. All right. So what happens is when you have high insulin and high blood glucose, you develop kidney problems because your kidneys are trying to filter everything out, and it damages your kidneys. Gosh, you don't want to go down that route.
Yeah.
Because then you end up on dialysis, and oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There are other problems. So, by the way, it messes with your hormones. And for men, since we're talking about high quality men, it lowers your testosterone.
That's because when you have fat storage, that's estrogen.
Right.
Fat storage is estrogen producing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, remember, insulin is the fat storage hormone. It says, hey, there's too much glucose for your muscles to use, so store it.
Mm-hmm.
And it stores as fat, and fat cells produce estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
And your body says, I don't need it. And estrogen and testosterone are tied together, so it will lower your testosterone. Anyway, oh my gosh! So
you went a long route down that.
I went all over the place. So
okay,
let me get there. So we're talking about type 2 diabetes, and they're now starting to call Alzheimer's and those dementia-related diseases type 3 diabetes. Because, you've got this level of insulin and level of blood glucose where your system can't handle it, and it seems to lead to those types of diseases, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to get into the medicines for Alzheimer's and all that crap, but it's a mess. But the studies and the research seem to show that it makes sense that high sugar intake, high carb intake, processed carb intake, and so on leads to that sort of thing. So, okay, have we scared you enough? Your hormones are all messed up. I think the issue is when you're young, especially 20, 30 years old, you don't see it. It doesn't show up so much in your physical or in your blood work or whatever.
Actually, it's starting to younger and younger.
It's starting to because I think kids are growing up with.
They are.
We're seeing
they're growing up eating,
and,
like a lot of processed food, seed oils, and.
But we're all over the place.
All that stuff.
Let's bring it back.
Okay.
Can we bring it back? Is it possible?
I don't know. You've gone pretty far afield. So
I didn't want to do this. Dang it! All right. So here we are. We're at 50 minutes. So we've decided to do this in 2 episodes for the high quality man / everybody person. and then do the High Quality Woman, the episode after that. But we will record the second half of this one and post it in a week or so, so they're out close together. And that's it for tonight then. So I know we've been all over the place, but hang in there. And we'll go a little faster after this. But we really wanted to cover the foundational things and physical health, mental, is really important in this category. And then we'll go on to mental health and then so on after that. So I think we're done for tonight.
I think so.
All right. This has been
Marriage on the Half Shell.